Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chris with Expose the Wild. This is episode 8, and we are finally going to be putting the subfloor back on the frame, getting it all attached, moving the C channel over to the frame, and putting the body back on the frame. So it's been quite some time since I made a video and put one up. I've just been plugging away at little stuff I didn't think worthy of a video, like cutting the plywood to size, covering it in epoxy, stuff like that. But as you can see here, the wood's ready to go. It's all been epoxied, and the fresh tanks and gray tanks are in. So the next few days we're going to be covering the process of prepping the frame to put the body back on, and then hopefully that all goes well, and by next week the body is back on and my trailer is actually a trailer again. So let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put 2 screws down in each piece of subfloor just to hold it in place. That way if I need to move anything while I'm putting the body back on, I'll be able to do that just by taking out 2 screws. The screws I'm using to hold the subfloor back to the frame are these 1.5 inch wafer socket self-drilling screws. So I'm gonna drill a pilot hole, and these will self-drill their own hole, and then because of the style of head, they'll countersink and sit flush in the plywood, so you won't have an issue when you're doing your flooring in the trailer. Other than that, we've got I bought new C channel from Airstream, and they sent me the C channel for a brand new Airstream, not for a 1977 Airstream. Even though they asked me for my VIN number, I sent it to them. It didn't seem to matter. They still sent me the wrong C channel. Maybe that's the only C channel you can get nowadays, but I'll show you how I modified that to work on my 1977 Airstream, and we'll go from there. So I'm gonna start by, I did use the old piece of subfloor to template this here. The rear of the trailer, I'll show you what I did there. It's gonna be a little more up in the air. The subfloor in the rear was not usable. It just all crumbled out. So I did use the old C channel as my template. I'm hoping I got it fairly accurate, and I can hopefully do some trimming if I need to afterward. But we're gonna get the next 3 pieces roughly in place here, and then we'll be moving on to dealing with all the finicky bits around the wheel wells, and where I'm gonna need to drill for my gray tank plumbing. So here we go. Okay, so what you just saw me install in the subfloor there, I'm using this plumbing coupling, this threaded coupling. Anywhere I have to bring a hose or anything through the floor, like the freshwater fill, the freshwater vent tanks, even the 1.5 inch plumbing that's going down to the gray tanks from the sinks in the shower, I'll be installing this coupling. So it comes up through a hole in the subfloor I've cut, has a nut built onto it, thread it down tight, and what that'll allow me to do is it'll allow me to insulate, like spray foam, insulate around anything coming through the subfloor, which will help keep pests out of the trailer. If there's no gaps in the subfloor for them to come through, you know, obviously any pest, mouse, or insect that really wants in your trailer is going to find a way, but I just want to do anything I can to minimize the risk of having pests come into the trailer. So by making a tunnel through the subfloor with this and then running my stuff through it, spray foam insulating, it gives me a solid airtight airtight passage everywhere I have something coming through the subfloor. So that's what we're going to do for the kitchen sink, the bathroom sink, the shower. I have 2 freshwater fill lines and then 2 vent hoses for each of the tanks. My tanks are isolated, they're separate, so I'm using them like a main and a reserve. I'll have a switch that when the main drains, I can flick a switch and then draw from the reserve tank. I just felt like that was easier than trying to connect my freshwater tanks together. So that's what's going on there. We're gonna keep plugging away. Okay, so I've run into my first problem with the subfloor. It looks like, because of the way I took all this apart, I hadn't realized, the subfloor at the wheel wells actually overhung the frame of the trailer by what looks to be about 2.5 inches and went into this C-channel that's for the wheel well. And when I did my subfloor, I cut it back to be on the frame. Now this isn't going to support any weight, it's just for rigidity in the C-channel, so I think I'm just going to put pieces in and hope that works, rather than I'd have to buy 2 new pieces of marine plywood. I'd have to re-epoxy them both. It'd be a big setback. So I'm going to do this with just filling in with strips of it, and we'll see how that works. Alright, it's the morning of day 2 of doing the subfloor in an attempt to get the body put back on, and I made some decisions about some of the discoveries I had yesterday. So yesterday I found that in actuality the subfloor was supposed to overhang the body of the frame by about 2 to 3 inches. You can see here, if I line these holes up to where it used to be attached into the frame, this piece of flashing, I guess we'll call it, if I line this up to the holes right there, you can actually see it overhangs the body of the frame. So the C channel for the wheel wells goes into that, like so. I've moved it now, but and the subfloor is supposed to come over all the way into the C channel, and because of the way I cut the old subfloor out, I hadn't realized that. So what I decided to do was I actually decided to cut back my subfloor so that my patch piece that I put in will be sitting on the frame on one side and then in the C channel on the other side. Now luckily for me, that whole section where I'm patching in is going to be underneath a raised floor in my bathroom, and it's going to have a custom welded aluminum wheel well, which will give a lot of rigidity. So I don't have to worry about patching in just that little wood piece. It'll be screwed down to the frame, it'll fill into the, and it's really just going to act as a solid backer for this flashing that hangs out over into the wheel well space. The other decision I made was I need to be able to get at my gray tank hookups here. I still have to cut one more. So this hookup here is where both my sinks, my kitchen and bathroom sink, will flow into. This is a vent that will come up and just tie into this, and then they'll both go up to a roof vent. And I still need to cut one more for my shower, which needs, my shower is actually going to be over here, but because of, I need to have room for the drain and my trap. I bought a trap that acts in place of a P-trap, and it's long, it doesn't bend. So my drain will come down and carry across and then elbow down into this tank as well. So this tank will fill, and they're tied together. They'll both fill. This vent will allow the air and gases to escape up the roof vent. But rather than figure all that out right now as I'm putting the subfloor back on, I just decided to cut this piece out so it can go back in afterward and screw down. So this piece will obviously get screwed in place. So that was my deciding factor for that. And now I can easily pull this out. And then in the future, if I ever have a plumbing issue, I don't have to tear everything apart and try to cut this out after. I could just take out my elevated bathroom floor, take up that subfloor, and then get at this panel and take it out also. So it's looking down the road as well for any future repairs that may need to happen. So I'm here in my office and I'm editing episode 8, and I've come to the realization that it's just going to be too long if I want to include everything I had originally planned. I'm at 16.5 minutes so far, and that's just the subfloor portion of the video. So I'm going to actually end it there, and episode 8 will be subfloor installation, and episode 9 will include putting the frame back underneath the body and reattaching the body to the frame. So if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you want to follow along with the rest of my builds, subscribe to my channel. And if you want quick daily updates, I'm always putting stuff on Instagram, which is etw.photo. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying my channel, and we'll see you next time.